innovate. They don't have any barriers of the realities of the business world yet, so they just take their ideas and they just flow. What we've done, though, is since September, this group decided to focus on Pakistan. There was one student who had some teachers in Pakistan when he was in high school who were now university professors. So we got in touch with them, and we started to build this mindset of what a mobile business would be in Pakistan. So mind you, these are our students in Finland who are used to having web, internet, mobile all around all the time. And suddenly they're being told by these professors and actually students in Pakistani universities that they don't have web. Forget web. They have SMS. So the whole mindset started to change, and we had to really rethink the whole business concept that they were working from. And then we started to come up with some ideas, and if you were here for Arabella's talk, she was telling about the UI elements, and we started to actually build a client, build some of the UI elements, and the students said, well, we don't really have much insight into how to do this. So I said, I'll get in touch with some of my colleagues in Nokia, in Nokia Design, and there started to be this discussion moving through Nokia Design where they said, okay, how do we help these kids? And people started coming out of the woodwork. Nokia NRC in Hollywood, a person came up into the discussion, and somebody from Beijing came into the discussion in Bangalore. I think somebody from Cambridge, UK also, who was in a nanotechnology group, but they also had a UI background. So it was this whole dynamic of people coming together to help people. And then, by the way, we've also got some India developers now involved because these students couldn't do all the coding themselves. And what I've been really surprised with, and pleasantly surprised with developers here in India is this idea of helping people and working with things that you're really passionate about. And not having the sense that you're competing against each other, but have the capability to bring your competencies together and do things together. So we're now in discussion with a few different individuals from different companies, how to bring these UI elements and some. So they're working on a mobile education application, how to get them into a multiple choice structure in the Java application. So essentially, there's two things going on here. One is that the internet is not the same anymore as it used to be. We're going into mobile, we're moving away from the PC and browsing, and moving into something that possibly includes some aspect of internet, but might not be the internet as we know it in the PC world. And then also we're moving into this collaborative mindset where people are coming together and bringing ideas together. And I hope you've got a sense of this also. So in my mind, it's not so much about the runtime, it's not so much about the platform, but it's about the way that people are working together. Officially, the first billion internet users were reached somewhere around October 2008. So we're not actually into this next billion. Well, we're into maybe almost the third billion now, but in Series 40 we have this saying, internet for the next billion. So maybe from today onwards, these next billion people are people who will be seeing the internet in very different ways. And whether it's these students that we're working with in Finland, whether it's the developers here, the universities in Pakistan, they're all starting to think of what this means. In different discussions today, it's been very interesting to hear the discussions of the different platforms, the different companies, how they're all looking. But essentially, we all have the same challenge, which is we're challenging ourselves to redefine what this mobile internet might mean. And I think this can be at very different levels what this might mean with different capabilities of devices, different capabilities of cloud technologies. But essentially, it will change, and it's changing fast. I know that the developers are always looking around to find the best opportunities, the best solutions for themselves. We've heard that there probably will be fragmentation of platforms for quite some time, which essentially is a good thing, because people aren't the same everywhere, and they have different needs. In Series 40, we're targeting Java. This is the runtime that we brought into the platform. We'll be continuing to support it and build it, evolve the APIs going forward, and also the internet capability of these phones. So today in people's hands around the world, there's 500 million Series 40 phones. This isn't Symbian, this isn't other manufacturers. So if we bring Java itself into context here, there's multiple billions of devices Java enabled. Series 40, Java enabled, web capable, 500 million today. So if you think of developing something that uses some aspect, some trickle of data coming in, or some way to take the internet backend into phones, it's pretty good reach out there. I think these phones are also getting very powerful. Working in devices R&D, I see the struggle and the intensity to bring more and more into these devices. And I think with Series 40, what I see is we have this mandate basically to optimize what matters most to people. So not just bring everything in, but look and see what people need, what people want, optimize that for tangible benefit, right? Whether it's screen, whether it's the power optimization, connecting the screen to the battery in ways that doesn't cause drain, whether it's bringing certain APIs out. We've been in discussion about MIP3, whether we go that route or bring out the APIs we feel are most appropriate for the markets we're going in. So do we take a standardization route, or we take a route where we say, okay, this is what we feel are the best ways for developers to bring the best applications in the markets where Series 40 is, which essentially are emerging market countries. But in saying that, I think also there's a huge opportunity of what you might call trickle-up innovation, where you have some very simple, effective, beneficial applications and services that are being created in emerging market contexts, but then suddenly somebody in Europe realizes, hey, within all this clutter of the smartphones and all these apps and everything, here's something that really works nice. And I think I'm going to use this, and it starts to potentially spread. So we have kind of a trickle-up type of innovation coming. One example, I was given a demo of a Twitter application, right? Java application, very simple. It allowed updates. You got to see updates. It had a little screen that said, what's on? What's your update? And I think it had a photo upload also on it. But public APIs, potentially it could reach all 500 million of those phones out there. Work simply, work in markets where you have data connectivity. Here in India, it's getting more and more realistic for you to have this. And basically reach as many phones as possible. I think that was a really exciting application. Simple, sleek, worked well, could run pretty much anywhere. And people in Europe can use this as an application to get their Twitter, very basic things that they want to do with Twitter. But we're also seeing, and I think you've heard this also through various presentations today and probably in conversations over the last year, that there is this evolution towards bringing functionality more to the applications, whether this is in standalone applications, whether this is in some kind of application with a connection to a back end in the internet where you're doing some kind of data aggregation or something, or whether you're having some kind of cloud computing, kind of constant connectivity there. We're definitely seeing an evolution where some of what we used to think of as device capability is now transferring over into the application. So this is, I think, also a very big opportunity for developers to define what this actually means. Here in the front, we have our Nokia X3, which is going to be coming here to India in about a month. It's what we call touch and type. It's actually a new category in Nokia on Series 40. And when we typically define a category, we're talking tens of millions of devices when Nokia defines a category. So this touch and type category is going to be around for some time. We're already seeing some really good sales in Indonesia. I think also the way the apps are running on it for me is surprisingly well, even without using the SDK to optimize the touchable elements. But also, it's surprising to me how little people know of the power of these devices, that they do have GPS, they do have Wi-Fi, they do have 3G. These are phones that actually some operators are starting to call smartphones. And we're kind of saying, well, you know, they're not smartphones, Symbian smartphones. They're like, no, they're pretty darn smart. We're like, okay, well, they're smart. They do things. And we're also internally, we're being challenged by Nokia Research Center, which is also seeing the viability of these phones now as their CPUs get more and more viable to do research on. And they're starting to do things that are challenging us to build this, you might say, processing power more and more at this mass volume level, which is how we define Series 40. It's a mass volume platform. When GPS gets to mass volume, it comes to Series 40, goes out to hundreds of millions. So just as a few examples of what Nokia Research Center is doing with Series 40, we do have a touch phone in China. It's been there for 2 years now. I think it's the 3208C touch and type, but they had a pen character input when it first came out 2 years ago. And what NRC has done now is to have continuous text input, so you can actually write sentences and it'll recognize words and sentences. So I think a really big step for Series 40. And what developers can possibly do with this, we'll see, or how this might affect two-way communication in areas where you have character sets as opposed to Roman letters or these kind of things. So a lot of interesting possibilities for these. Another is in Cambridge, U.S., working with MIT. Nokia Research Center is working on text-to-speech technology, so rendering text on your phone, getting your phone to speak back, also speech to text. So when you speak to your phone, it goes and translates it into text, does a kind of a search within your phone, and gives you an answer back. So you're starting to have conversations with your phone. This is being done on MeeGo primarily, but once again, they're getting very interested in saying, you know, this is actually an emerging market potential, and we want this to be on Series 40. So let's start testing this. So I think that's really exciting for us, and I would say for a developer who's working in areas where you still have quite high illiteracy rates, you have people who maybe aren't communicating in their language, but the phone actually has language support, you have very good possibilities to build services for those people who need them. So, yeah. Excuse me?
You're working on developing application on low-end Nokia phones for rural people.
Okay.
My question on this Series 40 phones that you're talking about, which are touch and possibly later on will have text-to-speech. What's the price range you're looking at, the lower end?
Well, we can't really say anything about price range now, but I guess that all depends on how much we optimize. You know, when we actually bring products into the portfolio, there's a whole discussion about what should be there, what doesn't have to be there, how we can actually build focused products. And the more and more input we get, I mean, that's basically what we in Devices R&D, my partners, do. The more input we get from, for instance, developers saying, you know, we need this at this price range, otherwise it's not realistic, we take that back in and say, okay, you guys, here in the portfolio, can we get this product? This in this feature set, this price point, this is the business case, you know, how about it? And here's the developers that are basically, you know, yelling to get this into the market. So
What would be the lead time on something like that, where a business case is presented and you come back and say that it's viable?
that's a tough one. That's not my area. We just bring it in, but I would hope it's fast, because the market is definitely changing fast. We're seeing that there's almost a whole new market dynamic here in India, where you have a lot of kind of exploratory devices coming into the market with different varying feature sets, feeling around for what actually works, doesn't work, focus on those. So it's kind of this internet mindset of devices, and it really shows that devices are getting commoditized. That the features are getting more secondary than the capabilities that you run on that. So I think that's where developers really have the opportunity to innovate. You're being given more and more space on those phones to innovate with. Okay, I just wanted to show a few of the applications that I found quite interesting on these phones, and for various reasons. So I'll just run through these really quick and show them to you. So Shazam, we're now pre-installing this on the Nokia X3, so this phone, because this is a music device. It has a dedicated music key, so the hardware feature on that goes right to your music player. But then it seems kind of natural to bring some kind of application to let you somehow identify music, get music, these kind of things. So Shazam fits quite naturally in this. And I hadn't known this, but I heard today that I guess they've been working with Forum Nokia to optimize their UI. So I think now when I look at this, it makes sense, because they've really taken the small screen and said, you can't read full sentences on a small screen. You need just simple things and if you think touch and type, one-hand touch optimization, which means your thumb, which is your biggest finger, is kind of tapping the screen. So you got to have quite big zones on that phone to work with. And you don't really need much more than this for the application to work. I think it's, again, really, really sleek, really simple, really well done. Next one is, I don't know if you know this, Snap2. It's by some developers out of Israel. Really a good group of guys, I think. They developed this application. Basically, their mindset, if you look at their website, is simple things that work well, which is basically what we're saying in Series 40. So it almost seems like a nice match. And once again, they built an application that is working really well. Very simply, people are noticing this. They're getting over 100,000 downloads a week in OV Store. So I think they're real successful in their focus of simplicity and bringing people what matter to them in simple ways. Next one is Ninja Joe. This won the Calling All Innovators in Latin America. And I think what's nice about this is you only need one key to make this work. This ninja jumps from the building, and if you hold the key down, he jumps higher and longer, and you let it go. And it's really simple and really addictive. It's, really fun application. But once again, it doesn't require much. It's like what people need. They just want to jump the buildings and get forward and try to beat their friends, and it's a really nice application. Again, I put Nokia Life Tools here not to advertise a Nokia application or service, but to show that there's now applications that are kind of coming into this new space, you might say, of business models. Life Tools is built with public APIs. There's nothing proprietary about it. They're looking to put it into OV Store. They're looking to